The Free Roam
know,
podcast.
I know people have missed us, but I'm not sure if they missed the theme song.
Well, we're still trying to find it. We're still trying to discover it.
Yeah. A year later, we're still trying to find the themes. I do think you are kind of like, it's still the ta 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 ta. It's like the drums that's gonna stay.
Yeah, it's gonna be high energy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's immediately start with the elephant in the room. So Maya already made a super chat here. You're pushing 40, visiting strip clubs on his vacation. Classic Assassin's Creed fan. I want to say that 33% of that statement is true, and I will let you figure out which part of it.
Oh no. I will choose which I want to believe. Yeah, we're back, guys. After a bit of a hiatus, Jor went adventuring the world, going to strip clubs as Assassin's Creed fans do. Allegedly, maybe. And I've been vibing. I went on a mini vacation. Jor went off on his vacation. Our plan was to do the show actually like right before the Game Awards, so we could analyze, speculate, that type of thing. But I had sort of a surprise trip. They offered me the chance to go to NYC.
Surprise.
Yeah, to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So I'll be able to talk about that soonish, but that's why we didn't get to do the show, because the only time I could have done it would have been when it was like 4 a.m. for Jor. And you guys know Jor, he needs his beauty sleep.
I like you guys, but 4 a.m. is a bit too much. Yeah. 3 a.m. would have been fine though, but 4.
Yeah, 4. 3 a.m. he'd still be awake from the day before.
Yeah, playing ranked matches, Dragon Ball. Jim and May, I hope I pronounced that right. I wanted to extend my condolences during this hard time. I'm sure you're broken up about Dragon Ball not winning Game of the Year. Yeah. Happy holidays, gents. Yeah, I see like a lot of like news going around about the Black Myth Wukong people crying. That was me. The Dragon Ball.
He was in the crowd just no! Just losing his mind.
But yeah, nobody's talking about that. It's of course all about the Wukong people. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Jor sits behind them one time and then they get all the credit for sobbing during the Game Awards. Yeah.
I'm not sure what Alana saw, but it must have been me. I don't think I saw any of the Wukong people cry, but
yeah. That whole thing, that's turned into also like a secondary, like, I guess, scandal, because other people that were at the Game Awards are saying they didn't see them crying, but Alana's like, I saw them crying. It's at this point there's debate at the very least. I understood her thing as like in the minutes after the show, like they get the award, Astrobot, everybody's cheering, the show ends, the camera's cut, and then it was in that aftermath that she saw them crying. People are saying, well, you can see on the camera they're not crying when they announce the Game Award going to Astrobot because the camera pans to the audience. And so maybe I misunderstood what she was saying, because if she's saying they were crying when they said Astrobot, they didn't do that. We can prove they didn't do that. But I understood her to mean that it was in the like 5-10 minutes after that they were very emotional that they didn't win, which to me, like, either way, I don't think it's particularly an interesting story. No. I mean, it's just people that worked hard on a game and were overcome with emotion. And it seems like the statement that maybe if you are like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Like, there was like a statement from the CEO from Game Science, the developer behind the game, that seemingly was mistranslated about kind of saying like, I had a feeling that I went there for nothing or something because they did not win Game of the Year. Well, they did win Action Game of the Year, which I thought was pretty surprising and still like for your first game, still a really nice get. So when I read the translation, it sounded to me like the guy was basically trying to say, you know, we came here for the award and we didn't get it. You know, we went home with nothing without that award.
Yeah.
And I think the way it was translated through Google Translate was just not very maybe generous or forgiving. I think it was just they found a translation through Google that made it sound like he said, we came here for nothing. And shocker, games journalists who have a weird hate boner for game science decided to run with it. And I mean, either way, whether they cried or not, I don't really see it as a big story. I'm like, they were fighting an uphill battle against IGN, like the biggest platform in all of gaming, and with 18 million subs on YouTube alone, and they still won Best Action Game. They still went to the Game Awards. They sold tens of millions of copies. Like, they did a great job. They did a great job.
Yeah,
and they should be proud of that. I don't think this is a big scandal. But...
And if they launch a DLC, then maybe they can get nominated next year. You know how it goes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Jeff will take care of you guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. Speaking of Jeff, there were a handful of announcements, some that we expected and kind of predicted, like seeing Mafia again and things like that weren't that surprising. There were some absences that were surprising to me. I really expected to see like Wonder Woman, for example. I thought we would see that after all this time, but that was not present.
I mean, they're focused on the final update for Suicide Squad. They, of course, need all the effort on that, And, revealing Wonder Woman might take away from that final big update in January, I think.
They need to work hard for all of their fan. So, good on them. Yeah. But, yeah, Snoop Dogg being there, that was a surprise. I mean, honestly, I think it was a solid show. They had a lot of big announcements. Probably the biggest in terms of view counts and engagement so far was the Witcher 4 reveal, which, there was some suspicion maybe we'd see something because they were showing off and talking a lot about their upcoming stuff. But what struck me most importantly, and I just want to get this out of the way up front, they've said in previous interviews they do not anticipate doing a marketing cycle that's longer than like a year and a half to 2 years. That is the cap for marketing cycles for them. They don't want to go longer than that. And in the wake of this reveal, the CEO specifically came out and said, this is not the start of a marketing cycle. So to me, that directly translates to this game is still 2 to 3 to 4 years away. We're not even in the marketing cycle.
That makes no sense because this is the marketing cycle. I'm sorry. Having a reveal trailer that everyone is like, now everyone puts it on their wish list. Like, this is your marketing cycle. What are you saying?
I think what I was trying to figure out what exactly like he meant by marketing cycle, and going back to the original interviews when he was describing the problems with like Cyberpunk's protracted or rather prolonged marketing cycle, I think what he means is like active journalist demos, gameplay demos, things like that, where they're showing parts of the game that may or may not be cut, that might be altered or whatever. It's like, we don't want to do any of that. We want it to be much tighter, and we show it when we know what the game is, and so we don't disappoint people. I mean, I think the reason they're doing this is because they have deals with like Epic and Nvidia, for example. This is going to be the graphics showcase game for the next 2-3 years, wherever they are like for example, you better believe for the 50 series, for the 5090, they're going to be showing whatever graphics card they pre-rendered this trailer with, because they even had the text on screen, pre-rendered in engine with an unannounced Nvidia whatever graphics card. They're gonna, when they reveal that graphics card later 2025 probably, they're gonna show it with this. I would not be shocked at all. So
yeah,
I think there's just a lot of other secondary marketing deals and things that kind of push them to announcing and revealing it at this point. And in that context, it doesn't seem that surprising.
But then I think still a 2-year cycle is very long these days. So that's not really news to me. I mean, it was just that Cyberpunk's cycle was just way too long, but that was because they kept delaying that game. I think that's the most publicly delayed game ever. That game was delayed like 4 times. So yeah, I do think like they will probably say something when they are pretty sure to hit a date. And then they will reveal the gameplay, maybe have people play it early. That was of course another thing with Cyberpunk, where we saw these amazing presentations but nobody played the game until the very last moment. So I believe that they learned from it. Of course, moving to Unreal Engine 5 is a big thing, and it seems like with Cyberpunk it felt like they were kind of like, okay, what is this game going to be? I think The Witcher 4 is going to be, maybe play it pretty safe. I don't think they're gonna do like a lot of crazy things, but just like they have made a game like this before already, and I think they kind of know what the whole plan is going to be. yeah, so it will probably work out for them, I hope, when they finally reveal it. But I agree, it's like end of the. This game is probably still gonna come to PS5 though and Xbox Series, but it's probably gonna be 2027, 2028 when the new Horizon comes out, like a week before, I think.
Yeah. Well, and what's really funny, so one of the other big surprise announcements had to do with Elden Ring. I don't think I didn't hear anybody predicting this or suggesting this. Like, this flew totally under the radar for everybody. But Elden Ring Night Rain, and this is like a surprise spin-off game that's Elden Ring, but it's also a co-op game that's a Souls or not Souls, like a what's the term? Roguelike.
Roguelike?
Yeah. So it's
it has roguelike elements, I think we could like say.
Yeah, what they said, I watched the whole IGN breakdown of it, and basically what they said was it has like 3-day cycles basically, and then a final boss to capstone it. Each day cycle is expected to take about 15 minutes. That includes exploring levels, that includes gaining runes and stuff to level up your character. There won't be free leveling up. It's like if you choose this barbarian archetype, you just press A, level him up, and then he gets more powerful. He's a level 2 barbarian, level 3 barbarian that's more powerful. So it's just linear scaling for those guys. But over the course of those 15 minutes, you are going to explore a little bit of the level. You're going to fight some enemies, fight an underboss. And they also alluded to potentially like boss invasions during that period too, where you can be invaded by random bosses that are, picked randomly or semi-randomly. And at the end of each day,
you hear that Fortnite sound, that bling or whatever, and then the circle goes smaller, right?
Yeah. The way they push you there is with the cycle being tied to the gas that circles in and tightens in. And at the end of the day cycle, if you beat the boss, you move forward to the next day, and the cycle repeats, and you do that 3 times over about 45 minutes max. And then you have the final end boss, of which the IGN preview guys said there are 8. So there are 8 total end bosses, and so 3 kind of semi-randomly or maybe fully randomly assigned bosses on the lower levels. But it's just very, very weird. There's also things like, the parkouring up the wall. There's a lot more verticality.
You need that speed, right? If you want to get as much done in 15 minutes, it would suck if you have to walk around the castle. So it's kind of cool that they added those faster movement abilities. Like, that's what kind of that's why I think Sekiro is my favorite From Software game, because that game had way more freedom. I felt like a way more capable character, and that kind of stopped me from enjoying a lot of the Elden Ring. And that's why I'm more of a fan of a Wukong, for example, where you're also just this monkey that can jump, that can do everything, which I prefer.
And I can totally see that. But to me, maybe the most jarring part of this, and I don't know if this is a big deal to you, but to me, it immediately sends off red flags and makes me, for me, actually significantly less excited for this. They straight up show copy and pasted bosses from various Dark Souls games, like Nameless King, just copy and pasted into it. And I understand that it's the same engine, they can just easily do that. But that to me is not a selling point, that we're just recycling bosses from other games. It just furthers the notion and the gut feeling that this is just a pure cash grab to recycle as much as we can and try to capitalize on Elden Ring fame and popularity. It might still be really good, but seeing that does not excite me. I know some people are like, oh yeah, we can fight them again, but in an Elden Ring context. But I think this is not going to feel like Elden Ring. A lot of the biggest bosses, if you remember, in Elden Ring, in all From Software games, to be fair, they are very difficult, and they take a lot of hitting your head against the wall. And it's you might fight them a half dozen times or a dozen times before you really understand them, and then you beat them. With this, presumably, if you go into that fight for the final end boss and you die and you go back to the beginning of the cycle, There are 8 potential end bosses. Maybe you can pick which one you're targeting or going for. But either way, you have to get through 45 minutes of grind to try the boss again. If they're a brand new boss, which it seems like a lot of them are going to be recycled from previous games, so maybe that makes it easier. But I think the boss fights are going to be significantly shorter, it seems. I think they're going to be easier. It's going to be streamlined a lot more. I really don't think it'll feel much like Elden Ring. Maybe it feels really good by itself, as its own thing, but it really does feel like just a quick cash grab on the Elden Ring name, and it hits me weird.
Yeah. I'm of two minds about it. On one end, I totally, if you were Bandai and, FromSoft, why would you not do this? In terms of, they struck gold. This is a 30 million seller almost, Elden Ring. That's for this type of game. That's Cyberpunk. That's half of Red Dead Redemption 2. That's insane. And it seems like, at least from the IGN interview, that this director was like, yo, I like these types of co-op games. And of course, we saw a lot of mods in Elden Ring where people wanted to play the co-op, a more traditional style co-op game inside Elden Ring without having to, summon each... the downtime in the co-op of Elden Ring sucks. And I think it's kind of cool that they are trying something kind of new. Obviously, they're reusing a lot of the assets, but this is going to be, I think, a $40 game. I think they said it will be around the Shadow of the Earth 3 price. And I personally think that if you like what you're getting here, I totally think they have to set the expectations right. And they're going to do a beta test in February already, which is great. That really gets people in the door, gets them to improve some things before launch, and also make sure that people know what they're getting into. If this was more like a cash grab, I felt like they would probably be holding it off a bit more and then just launch it, and then they know, okay, people are gonna buy it because of the Elden Ring name. But I know, I don't think that's kind of the intention. And I think bringing in these other bosses from these other games, sure, it would have been cooler if they made completely new bosses. But I also think that if you really like this game and are continuously playing it, and if there are only a handful of bosses, the 8 end bosses doesn't sound like a lot if a session can be 45 minutes. That means that in 10 hours you can have seen everything. Obviously, that will not be the case because you will die and then have to retry it. But I do think that at one point you are excited to see that old boss again, and that you kind of just want more variety. And if they can do that by bringing in old bosses, that will feel completely new to fight, not only because you're now fighting them with 3 or with 2 other people, but also because you're fighting them with pre-made heroes, like we've seen in the trailer, completely new abilities that were not in the game before. So I totally think that what you're saying is true. This is not Elden Ring, what people probably loved about that game, the exploration, constantly being surprised, going into a brand new region and being like, where the heck am I now? This looks insane. But it's more, okay, you know what Elden Ring is. Now let's bring in your friends. We changed the combat a bit, and it's way faster, because one of my things with Elden Ring overall was it could get kind of slow in some points. And this feels like, I have a few hours. Let's bring in my friends. Let's have some fun in this world that I love. I'm not really against it. I think that's what we see if we look at the like to dislike ratio. And I know that's not everything, but the excitement for this, people want this. It's not Lego Horizon where everyone's like, who is asking for this? Right? It is. And again, it's not a full price game. If this is a game that you go play, there are just not a lot of experiences like it. PvE co-op is not really a big thing. Obviously, we had Space Marine and Helldivers, but still, they come and go, kind of. And I do think that this could be a game that takes over the industry for a month and then moves on. And that's all it's trying to do. It's $40 probably. I don't see an issue. I think it's going to be great for the people that want it. And it might be more interesting to me, who a person who did not like the downtime of an Elden Ring, especially if you wanted to play with someone else. I like the battles and just like trying to figure out those things. I don't really like the grind of getting to a place where my character feels good enough. So having this way shorter, it feels like this game is trying to get to the good parts immediately. So that I think sounds appealing, and I'm all for them trying something new. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I think it will, to a certain extent. Like, how badly could an Elden Ring thing do? I mean, it's Elden Ring, so I think it'll sell well. I think a lot of people will play it. It'll have crazy player numbers at the start. As for taking over the industry for a month, I think probably more for like maybe a weekend to a week, because part of what helped Elden Ring just dominate for so long was because even like 2-3 weeks after launch, there were still new things being discovered and people realizing, wait, I can do that. Oh, there's a boss here. You know, it was breaking people's minds because there was just so much. But with this, you know, I think it'll be fun. They're doing a network test kind of demo thing on console. It's not coming to PC, unfortunately, but it's coming to console, and they're going to be doing that sometime, I think, early next year. And I think that's a swell idea. I think that's a really good way to do it. Let people try it, see what they're in for. Maybe even just do a full-on demo that people can download if they're iffy on it. Let them play 2 rounds or something, 3 rounds, and then choose if they want to buy it. That seems like an easy way to handle it. One of the weird eccentricities of this, though, is that they, of course, it's co-op, but they only are supporting solo play or 3 players. There is no duo option. You cannot play this with just one other friend, which is odd.
Yeah.
That's
the
odd.
reason they gave is because they thought that 3-player was the sweet spot. And that way, because I think Elden Ring you can only play with one other person, right, in co-op? Or I think so, right?
It's been a while. Get more friends.
Or no, I think you can maybe with more, but then you lose your potions. That's a thing. There is like a downside of doing it. No, you can play with 2. No, you can play with 4. With mods, you can play with 4.
With mods you can play with 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Either way, like it's just an interesting thing to just not allow players to have 2 players. Like if I just want to play with my buddy Caleb, I can't. Like we either have to do a
find more friends, man.
Yeah, find more
Don't
friends.
You have any friends?
Like either a random fill or something like that. But you know, it's to me a little more. Oh, it's just a weird choice because now it's like. So not only do all of us have to buy the game, but we also have to be on at the same time. And maybe if it is really, really big, then that could work. But it's at the end of the day, it's a weird game. It might end up being the biggest thing of next year. And GTA 6 is like, oh, did we not see this coming? More than anything, I think it's going to be like a fun thing to play for a weekend or a week. I don't expect it to have a lot of staying power.
I think you're underestimating it. I think you're underestimating it.
I very well could be. Because to me, it's just like seeing recycled bosses to me is not exciting. That to me is a big turnoff. For other people, that's like a benefit. They see that, they get excited to be able to fight those bosses again. But to me, seeing them very proudly putting forward recycled bosses is like, oh.
But you have to remember as well, like Dark Souls 3 sold 10 million units. Elden Ring sold 30 million. There are a lot of people that never fought these Dark Souls bosses. So they are new for them.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps that's true. Bro, it's FromSoft. Let them do something new. Yeah, like making new bosses. I agree. We agree. So I think that this is going to be big. It's going to be successful. I just don't think this is going to be like the new crazy co-op trend of 2025. I think it'll be fun for like a week and then we'll move on. What's going to be What's going to be really funny, though, is if this launches right next to the Horizon multiplayer game. Wouldn't that be so freaking funny? If after all this time, they're like, finally, we got away from FromSoft. We got away. And then Elden Ring Night Rain is like, hold on, when are you guys launching? We'll just go right next to you.
Yeah.
Like, with their luck, that's how it's going to be.
They are looking, 10 hours ago, studio creative director for marketing. Like for Guerrilla Games. This role demands not only a high degree of creative strategic thinking, but also the ability, for exceptional marketing and licensing opportunities across our Horizon franchise. So yeah, basically, they're looking for a new marketeer who's gonna market the game.
Yeah, they're getting ready. Do you still think it's 25 or do you think it's 26?
I hope it's 26. I don't think it should be in 25. But at one point, they're like, we've worked on this for 8 years. Maybe we should get it
at some point, like, do it.
I hope they do a beta. I hope they do a beta first and not like kind of rush it like the previous live service game that should not be named anymore. I do think though, like where I want to kind of transition to is with a game like Elden Ring, like this co-op spin-off, kind of coming out of nowhere for 2025 in a already insanely crowded year. That's what I kind of mean with. I do think as a publisher, you want to stay out of the way of this game. Like it's still that big if you're like an open world type game, even though this is of course going to be slightly different. But yeah, there are already not a lot of spots in 2025 left, it feels like.
Yeah.
And then having like surprises like this, we also of course learned Outer Worlds 2 is coming now in 2025. Although, yeah, maybe that will slip. I mean, it's probably going to be the end of the year because Avowed is, of course, early already, which is the same developer, obviously. Then we got Split Fiction from EA. That's coming like 1 week after Monster Hunter. Looks very, very good, of course, from the It Takes Two people. Crimson Desert got like a late 2025 date at the Game Awards. Yeah, you put in Judas, or is it gonna happen? I don't think that we know about.
They did that. We talked about it on stream just a little while ago. They did that preview sort of thing where they shared it with Jake Baldino, Scale Up, like for their Friends Per Second podcast, and that was 8 months ago. And there's been nothing since then, which I find very weird because normally like they rev up the marketing cycle and they start talking about more and more and more and more. But they were not at the Game Awards. They've been silent. So I don't know if they're still hitting 25. They might push to 26.
Yeah, because we have like Borderlands, Mafia, Civilization, like as 2K games. That's insane. They have NBA, of course, every year. They don't need this game in. No, stop it. Are you, by the way, in the chat? Don't overlook Fair Game $. And the person is called Luke.
That's not me.
I only know Luke. I only know Luke's calling this Fair Game's $.
It's too good. Yeah, you can't sleep on Fair Game $, man. I mean, that's another big player in 2025. Watch out. Watch it, dude. Watch as that ends up being the big surprise hit. Remember, just when you think the games industry is ridiculous, something surprises you. You never know. I think it looks blah, but maybe that ends up being the big surprise hit that's massive. It'd be crazy.
That would be like the best plot twist of 2025.
Imagine.
Would be insane.
Because here's the thing, we think we know kind of how next year is going because there's some big games that look really good. There's not a lot of big, like just question marks in the industry, right? Or for next year. A lot of it is like pretty predictable how it's going to go. But Fair Game $, like every year there's some big surprise, some big plot twist, whether it's a colossal flop of something you thought would do okay.
This year had multiple.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, Suicide Squad not doing well, we could all have seen that coming. Concord launching and
being dead within 11 days.
Yeah, we could never see that coming. Helldivers 2 being as big as it is, Palworld being as big as it is. We never could have seen that coming. So yeah, there will be games like that. Did you, by the way, see Den of Wolves? A new game that was announced, which is basically Payday from... Like Payday 3, of course, did not do very well. Seems like a lot of the developers that actually made Payday 2 are now making Den of Wolves. But that's another heist game. I'm like, how can Fair Game... I'm just going to say Fair Games.
You want to say $signs so bad. Dude, I mean...
How are they going to compete with another heist game?
Maybe I'm just, like, not in this bubble, but is the heist genre like really this big? Because there's a lot of these games that are coming.
Is there even a bubble?
Like that? Yeah, maybe that's the other question: is there even a bubble at all? But they're doing this. They're working on their own. Fair Games is coming, and I didn't think it was this big of a genre, even if it looks pretty good. Because honestly, like this doesn't look bad in terms of like destructible environments. I think that's kind of cool. There's some interesting stuff here, but I just didn't think that this was big enough to justify like all of these people trying to get into the genre. But maybe it is.
But it feels like like that's also kind of with the and yeah, we can kind of transition to the Naughty Dog IP. It feels like everyone is kind of looking for something to at least justify maybe their big investment. Like, look at this, that is kind of like the thing that we are doing now. Here, give us $100 million. And yeah, it feels like, hey, Payday did very well. Like, Payday came kind of out of nowhere. I'm looking at the Payday 2 Steam chart right now. 8,300 people are still playing. That's pretty good for a game this old. And obviously Payday 3, I'm not sure how big that is. I don't think it's very big. But the point is that, like, we are now seeing that with the sort of Guardians of the Galaxy, Concord, Intergalactic type games as well. It feels like a lot of them are just doing they're looking at something that has been proven, and then they're making their game kind of around it too. And I mean, that feels like something that all these developers in terms of multiplayer games are doing as well, instead of really trying to reinvent the wheel, just giving their spin to something that has already been proven.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to gauge like parallel thinking versus just chasing trends and all this, because there are a lot of these games which seem to follow in the same rough art style, or they follow in the same kind of archetypes of characters or character design and all that, and it's kind of hard to figure out where that starts or what causes it. Part of it, I mean, it's really easy to point to things like Marvel writing or Marvel movies and things as a potential cause of, like, in my opinion, the degradation of writing quality, where every character in every game now is like super sarcastic and so witty and quirky. Like, I cannot stand it. But it's a very big thing in like the Marvel movies and everything, which now is kind of calmed down. But I think either way, like, you can still just gauge the game based on what it is. The trend and the push for extraction shooters and heist-based games, that just seems to be like, okay, we're not going to beat out battle royales. We're probably not beating out like hero shooters that are already established. You know, then Marvel Rivals comes in, but they're like, we're not even going to try. So let's try to go into those niches. And then with other games, in terms of art style or presentation, I think a lot of it is just that these devs, they get out of working on something recognizable or something that we all know for years and years and years, and they want to shake it up. And they're like, what do we like playing? What's something really different we could try? And that's how we get something like Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which is the next game from Naughty Dog, because of course they have been working on like hyper realistic, dark and pretty gritty games for a long time. And they wanted to do something else, something new and different. And this is just about as different, at least in terms of style, from The Last of Us as you could possibly get. It's a sci-fi game, very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque retro futurism with, you know, your standard 80s product placement style, heavy inspiration from different anime and things like that. Without a doubt, production quality is top notch. I'm sure it's going to be extremely well put together as far as a game is concerned. Very, very well done. For me, though, I said this and I've gotten a little bit of flack for it. Some people are offended that I feel this way, but I just like watching this trailer. I'm sorry. The retro futuristic vibes just make me go, eh. It just doesn't really excite me. And if you had told me 2 weeks ago that I would see the next Naughty Dog game and I would feel totally just towards it, I would call you a filthy liar. But for me, it's just, it's not particularly exciting. And part of it is the trailer. Like, these trailers are about tone setting. They're about selling you the vibe of the game and convincing you that the vibe is worth checking out. And it's just setting that flavor, that tone. And I've seen some people that love this, that are eating this up. They love the retrofuturism stuff. They love the nods to 80s movies and that style. They eat it up. For me, it just doesn't do anything. And what I said on stream, which I think other people, at least some other people, can relate to, is that if this were coming from any other studio, I don't think we would be talking about it right now beyond like the facial animation quality, because to me, it's just not particularly interesting. That might just be because it's not a great trailer. It might also be that just the game wise, it's something new and different. So I'm not seeing anything to really latch onto, but I don't know. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I saw someone say, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that they should have, like, the reveal for this game should have been like God of War 2018, I think. Because then you would be immediately like, okay, how is this going to play? Because I think that is what is hopefully going to sell this game. Because that final part of the trailer where we kind of get a glimpse at the gameplay, I think that is where this game is going to excel, because we know Naughty Dog can deliver a really great story, and the cutscene that we saw and the interactions looked great. But I think the gameplay is going to take this as a Naughty Dog product to the next level. And I want to know if the planet is, for example, open, and because that seems to be what they've been doing with Uncharted Lost Legacy, giving you one open map, 3 objectives, do them in any order, and the order you chose felt like the one the game wanted you to do. But if you were picking another order, that kind of felt the same. So they did a really great job there. Seattle in The Last of Us Part 2, of course, as well. And that feels like a logical next step. Neil Druckmann has said they wanted to give players more freedom in how they approach their games. So that has me very excited, but it's mostly the promise of what this is. And I think if this was not a Naughty Dog game, I would not have cared.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. If we were here 2 weeks ago before the Game Awards, and we would be having, like, I don't think we would believe someone from the future who said, yeah, you guys are going to have a kind of mid discussion about this new Naughty Dog game. And I think it's so totally about the trailer, but I also think that it's wild to me that with how Sony is kind of approaching all their franchises right now, they clearly want, when they start something new, that it can be more than a game. And if you agree with that or not, that's kind of how they're approaching things. Like, look at the secret level episode for Concord. That was already, of course, finished before Concord came out. And obviously they're looking at this as well. Yo, if this is successful, HBO, we got another one for you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's wild to me that they had 2 super similar products in development at the same time, with probably the same idea to go for this transmedia approach. It's just, why go into bed with Concord if you already have kind of a game like this? Obviously, Concord as a game was very different. But that is just wild. And then we hear that Sony Santa Monica is making a sci-fi game potentially as well. Really hope that's not true, because I want a more diverse portfolio. But yeah, going back to Naughty Dog, to this game, we have to see more. I want it to be way more hyped. I remember watching the first Last of Us trailer, which was also announced at the Game Awards, and being like, okay, this looks sick. We saw a clicker for the first time, and I was immediately like, I'm not really into zombies, but this looks like a very different type of character. And of course, you already saw Joel and Ellie, kind of what is their relationship going to be. And seeing this sort of robot, it was not like a special enemy or something. Right now, you're kind of like filling in the blanks that the trailer leaves. I wish they would have shown a bit more about, okay, what sets this game apart. Now I'm really latching on to the fact that it's a Naughty Dog game. I know it's gonna be great because I love their games. Like, yeah, but the trailer did not do anything in particular for me either. It's more the promise of what this could be than what they showed right now.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the team that's working on it is super excited about it. That's what's been very clear. It's all of the Naughty Dog guys. Like, they brought, it seems, the entire studio to the Game Awards. I saw somebody send a clip and they were like, look at all the actual reaction, not the online reaction, the actual reaction to the reveal of the new Naughty Dog game at the Game Awards. Like, you can see this little chunk of the audience that goes ballistic when they announce it. It's like, guys, those are the developers. Yeah, they're cheering for their game, as they should. And again, like, Naughty Dog, they do, whether you love the games or not, you can at least appreciate, or should at least appreciate, the technical prowess, the polish, the attention to detail. There's no doubt that will all be here. My frustrations, as Jor alluded to as well, is just that I just don't see anything really exciting or different here. And I think what you said actually got the gears turning in my head, which is, we're filling in a lot of the blanks left in this trailer, and there are a lot, because this is a new IP. We don't have anything to go with. It's not like a trailer for another Last of Us game where you see, oh, that's Tommy. I can fill in all this other stuff because he looks older than he did in Last of Us Part 2. This is probably what the game looks like. And you can fill in stuff kind of in an informed way. That's not what we can do here. With here, we're just going off of nothing. And a lot of the games that look like this in terms of style or presentation that we've gotten in the last few years end up being like pretty mid. And so I think that's why we fill it in with kind of mid stuff. If they had something really, really badass or really crazy and cool, show us that. But like, based on this trailer alone, again, like, if it weren't Naughty Dog, I don't think we would be talking about it right now. I think it would have been one of the more forgettable trailers of the show. And that's too bad coming from Naughty Dog. And I don't know if it's just how they're choosing to present it, if that's just how they're approaching the marketing this time around, but it's really, really bizarre to be here and see the next Naughty Dog game and just be like, you know, some people were giving it crap for the product placement, like the big Porsche on the back of the ship. Somebody was like, oh, see, they've gone so broke because they have to rely on product placement for this. I'm like, no, it's an 80s thing. All these 80s movies, like Rocky even had tons of product placement with like Tab sodas, and like, it was an 80s thing that they did product placement and all sorts of stuff. So it's not that they need the money. It's that this is like part of the vibe of this era that they are giving homage to. But
and are you a bit afraid about the reception to this? Because, like, we talk about, of course, Concord and how that was a huge flop for Sony, but every time we kind of bring those live service games up, we're like, but they are fine. They have Naughty Dog, they have Santa Monica, they have these other studios. When they release a game, it's gonna be profitable day one. It's a sure win. And then we see this trailer, and it's not a sure win. Like, it's, if this, like, this is what we are seeing now, and then I'm mostly talking about the reception overall. Like, I looked at the amount of views, and that's like very high for a new IP, like 4 million across the PlayStation account, the Naughty Dog account, and IGN, almost 4 million, but it will certainly reach that at one point. But of course, reception, and a lot of that is just hate that I don't want to get into. It's the internet. To be fair, though, for Ghost of Yotei, we had kind of a lighter but similar approach. If you look at the dislike to like ratio there's only like 20,000 dislikes and 180,000 likes. Like, it's not as bad as here. Like, it's way better. So what we are seeing is that when these games get revealed, where people are like, this is not kind of what I want, they just nowadays just tend to not do well in the end, because there's so many other games right now. You don't need to rely on, like, you're not eagerly waiting for a new single player game, because they're launching here and there, and you can just kind of pick and choose and do what you want. Where previously you were kind of dying for the next PlayStation massive exclusive. And that's what made me kind of like, okay, what is this going to entail? Is it just that when we see the gameplay, everyone will be like, okay, this looks way better? So we have seen that before as well, where they can turn things around. I do think that if your next Naughty Dog game that is costing like a few $100 million, it's your prime, like your best studio next to Santa Monica working on this for 7 years. Like, they will probably launch this in 2027, so it will be the first new game in 7 years. And this is the first reaction to it. Like, this should be like an easy win. This should be like, we're publishing the trailer, okay, we got all the pre-orders, it's already done, right? But it's not. So I kind of am interested in that,
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, this is not the reaction they would hope for. Having to turn off comments, having like pretty, I don't have the extension on this one, but there certainly are a lot of dislikes. As I've said before, like, in my experience, the dislike extension for Chrome is usually like it doubles the actual count of dislikes. Okay. In my experience, at least, if it says there's 400 dislikes on a video, there's probably actually 200. But with this game, like, my understanding is there's like 50, 60,000 dislikes. So even if it's doubling it, that's still bad. That's still not
way more.
good.
It's way more, actually.
223,000 CZ says? Is that real? Dude.
Yeah, that's according to the extension. Like, I'm looking more at it from a percentage. It seems that 33% likes, 66% dislikes. It's kind of what it seems to be. And on all the trailers, right? It's not like on the PlayStation account people like it more, or on the Naughty Dog account, because obviously that would be more their like particular fan base.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
that's not good.
I think, some of these comments are funny, but like, okay, some of these are really funny. Like, look at this.
The remaster, right? Do you mean that?
No, that was one of them. They sell hair as a separate DLC. The trailer is 2 hours old. Ew, it's so old we need a remaster. The most surprising thing about this trailer is that Sony left the comments on. Quote, "This game is not for you. Your terms are acceptable." This is one of the problems with, I think, a lot of studios nowadays, though, is that gamers will voice their opinion by disliking a video or by not buying it or telling you on X or whatever. But they'll typically voice their opinion. And there's two options. Like, you can either acknowledge that feedback and just be like, we understand you feel that way. We'll get you next time. We hope you still maybe give the game a chance, but we understand if it's not for you. That's a intelligent, mature way of handling it. The other way is how a lot of these studios have handled critical feedback, whether it's Concord or Dustborn or the Suicide Squad or whatever else, which is, if you don't like it, it's not for you. Get bent, bigot, like that kind of thing. And that is a recipe for disaster. If you treat your, what you should hope are your customers that way, then you're not just putting out a product that they don't connect with. Then that like kickstarts a war with them. And I just hope that PlayStation, if this game is actually really good, and there's a lot of stuff here that we just haven't seen yet, I hope that they do not shoot themselves in the foot 15,000 times with the marketing if they try to, fight that feedback, because there are a lot of people for whom this will not connect. They just will not like it, whether it's because of the art style or it's because of the writing or if it's because of the protagonist or Neil Druckmann. He tends to make narratives and characters in a very particular way. I think we all know the vibes in his style of writing, and that is just like, some people will not like it. That's okay. But I without a doubt, like you said, this is not the reaction you would want. I mean, even if I just pull up this, so we have the Intergalactic trailers, and if I just look on YouTube, same thing, The Witcher 4, if we just do a little side-by-side, like Intergalactic, Naughty Dog's official trailer is at 1.2 million, new IP, that's impressive. The PlayStation official video is at 1.8, again, new IP, that's fine. And The Witcher 4, which is an established IP, but still, The Witcher official page, 3.7 million views. The IGN trailer is at 8.4 million. This doesn't count any on short form content or X or anything. Like, again, you would have thought that Naughty Dog's big reveal would be the trailer that steals the show, but instead it was an announcement of a sequel to The Witcher 3, which I as a Witcher fan, I love that.
I think that that comparison, I'm not so sure. I think it's, for example, better to compare to a Ghost of Yotei, for example, that is viewed way more, and I think that trailer was way better. Obviously, that game also has like, we kind of know what to expect, so seeing that in action, you're kind of like, okay, I know what I will be doing in this game. I just think this trailer wasn't that great.
They also spend a lot of time talking about, like, this is one of those things that it's just a personal little pet peeve, and then we can move on, because I don't want to just ramble about this the whole time. But, like, with these games, there's a story. There are characters that know things we don't know. And so one of the things that I like about Naughty Dog writing when you play the game is that you don't have that, like, cringe exposition where the characters are like, they dial somebody on the computer monitor camera thing, and they're like, "Hello, brother. How is mother? Living back on the planet of Voltron. Oh, she's good? Yeah, ever since father died 3.5 years ago, I've thought, I don't know how she would do, but it's good to hear she's doing well with you, my brother, Jack, and my siblings, Jane and Jill. And hopefully we can all come together and gain enough money to get off that rock, buying a spaceship that costs approximately 150,000 credits." Like, that type of exposition drives me crazy, and it's something we see in a lot of poorly written games nowadays. And Naughty Dog doesn't do that. They'll just have characters, "How's she doing? She's all right. I'll give her my best." And it's not until you play the whole game that you understand who they're talking about. But one of the problems with that style of writing is that when you don't know what's going on and those conversations start in a trailer, you have no idea what's going on. So they're talking about, like, "Oh, this person's down here. You were right. Got to get you the contract." It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the stakes are. I don't know if this is a big deal. I can try to infer it from the sort of dialogue cues or whatever. But this is supposed to be a trailer giving me information, and it is giving me basically nothing. And again, maybe that's part of a grand scheme plan to, like, oh, well, we set this up this way and then we surprise them that way. But I've got nothing. There's just nothing to really work with here. All we're working on is the 80s retroism or retrofuturism vibes, which I said in my tweet, X post, whatever, immediately after this, after the Game Awards. I was like, you know what? Witcher 4 looks great. That all looks great. Mafia looks great. Was not expecting Naughty Dog's next game to be Concord 2, but whatever. And people got upset. Okay, I thought it was funny, but it's because, like, it's a similar kind of vibe, the space vibe with, like, an intense story or whatever. I don't think this will be anywhere near on Concord's level. Okay, I don't think this is going to flop within 11 days. I'm not saying that. But I think the fact that people are so sensitive to that comparison already shows part of the problem, which is those types of jokes only hurt and really upset people if there's maybe a hint of truth that's uncomfortable. And you better believe that everybody at PlayStation and Naughty Dog and everybody is a little anxious that maybe this vibe is going to severely impact the game's potential. But
yeah, and that's why they should have just, like, shown gameplay and then do the trailer or, like, the cutscene where it's like, I don't know what these people are talking about, but what I just saw looks amazing, so I want to know what they're talking about because I want to care. And that just did not happen. And to round it out, like, I think like the whole Last of Us Part 2 and that situation, like, that was crazy. That was like making a video on that game. People were, like, coming for you. It was no fun if you made, like, a positive video about that game. And that really hurts the mainstream appeal. Like, this should have been I remember the first time The Last of Us Part 2 was announced at PlayStation Experience. That's one of my favorite crowd reaction videos ever, because they zoom out, you see the fireflies on the sign, and then everyone's, "Oh my god!" And then you see, like, a hand on the guitar, and, "Oh, it's Ellie," and you see someone walk. Like, that trailer was amazing because they knew what they were doing. And then the game launches, and the hype, like, it still sold like 4 million in 3 days, but then it ended up selling 10 million in 2 years. So it was like everyone who was on board already, and then a very slow drip feed. And I'm just curious, what are they expecting from this game? Because it's not gonna sell more than part 2. So
Yeah, I don't.
if this is the start, like, I'm not sure, man. I could see this, and I know we're getting a little, like, I'm getting way too ahead of myself, but I can see this being a one-time thing, maybe. If it's what I kind of expect this to be.
Yeah, I think. Again, it's extremely premature, so nobody think that we're like, oh, we're reviewing the game before it's even out. No, like, we're not doing that. This is literally speculation. But I do think, and I didn't think this back in 2020, but over the last few years, I think it's become clearer. I do think The Last of Us Part 2 did a lot more damage to the Naughty Dog brand than I thought. I thought the people that were really, really pissed off about like Joel and Abby and the whole premise of The Last of Us Part 2, I thought a lot of those people were kind of memeing. A lot of those people maybe were just fans of The Last of Us, but like they weren't really Naughty Dog fans, whatever. But I do think that there was a sense of betrayal that a lot of fans of Naughty Dog felt that has not been repaired. Like they were kind of trusted as custodians of these characters, of Joel and Ellie and of this world. And when they handled The Last of Us Part 2 in the way that they did, even though I can understand why they did the story that way, I think a lot of people felt like really truly betrayed and like insulted and disgusted by it. And those people are some of the most ardent people that are opposed to Neil Druckmann's leadership in Naughty Dog right now. And I think that's why there's not a lot of confidence in this. But I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what we say about it, I think the consensus is, if you have, and this isn't, I don't think this is even controversial, if you have an announcement trailer for a new IP from one of the world's most prolific and successful studios, and that announcement trailer is greeted with mass downvotes, you have to turn comments off, and even storied fans of Naughty Dog are left feeling towards it, it's a failed trailer. Now, if that's a failed trailer because the game that the trailer is for is just not connecting, that's one thing. It's another thing entirely if it's just the trailer was a poor trailer and they cut it weird and this is just not telling players what they need to know about the game. But either way, something didn't work in this reveal, and I hope that they learn from it moving forward. Like you said, show gameplay, do something, because this reveal, without a doubt, did not go the way they were hoping. I think they expected this to be...
And maybe because of this, they are moving forward with like a gameplay trailer earlier than this to get like a second run at it. I think that might be actually pretty smart to, I mean, maybe turn it around is a bit too much, but yeah, get another crack at it and have people be more interested in. I don't think it's on a lot of people's list. Only on the people that were already put next Naughty Dog game on their list before even knowing what this was. And like, I think also if you had like Ghost of Tsushima reveal, Horizon Zero Dawn reveal, that was unanimous. Everyone was like, what the heck, I can't wait to play this. So I think that's worth pointing out as well. Those were also new IPs.
The only other thing I saw somebody mention in chat, which I guess we just briefly touch on, yes, there were allegations of a leaked story. It's almost certainly fake. The person that claimed the story of this game leaked was saying it was shared to like Jason Schreier in a private journalist only like Discord group or something. Like, it was hilariously fake. That isn't a thing. Jason confirmed it's fake, and he has no problem with leaking stuff. So the story that leaked, I don't think is true whatsoever. I think in terms of vibes, we can already predict pretty much what this is. They've confirmed you're going to be on a planet nobody else has escaped from in centuries. You're going to be hunting down members of your old group, and I think they've also said, you know, the Heretic Prophet, which is of course the subtitle of the game, they're going to be discussing like a fictitious religious order, kind of like a cult, and they're going to talk about what happens when you put your faith in the wrong institutions who betray you, blah blah blah. Basically, I think the whole game is just going to be an allegory for like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that Neil's talked about. I think that's basically what it's going to be. It's not going to blow anybody's minds. It's going to be pretty much 1-to-1. Because that's just what we do now.
I did think that what you say, like you bringing up the whole Joel situation in part 2, I do think if they were ballsy in that game with beloved characters, I can see them go crazy with this. Like, what if this character's not even the final? Like, what if we play multiple characters? What if she does not survive this planet and all of a sudden we switch halfway through? Like, I think if they were ballsy with part 2, there are no strings attached to any of these characters yet, so they can really go crazy, and I hope they do that. I hope they surprise that.
Wouldn't that actually be really funny if they're like, hey, players don't really like this protagonist. She dies in the first 10 minutes.
Like that would be insane.
With a golf club. They're just like, you get to use the golf club.
Yeah.
And then it's like all those people that were hating on it actually become the biggest fans because like, we get
like you go after these bounties and then the person you were going after just kills you and then
that would be
suddenly
funny.
dead bounty hunter and then you go like I'm just saying, like, I want to end kind of on a positive note. I do think the trailer was just not great. I can't wait for a new Naughty Dog game, and I think having a way more action style game is gonna be way more fun than the cover shooters they've been putting out. So I'm excited, and yeah.
It's still a ways off.
I want to see more.
We'll keep an eye on it, but I hope they learn from this trailer and do not make the same mistakes. And I just, more than anything, I hope they don't stick their head in the sand and just insist like, no, you actually love it, shut up. Like I hope that they actually can take some feedback, be like, why didn't people connect with it? Even our fans were not that thrilled with it. It's like, what went wrong? What can we do? So
Herman is kind of like he can't sleep right now. He's like, not another Concord, not another.
It's like, for the love of God, how he still has a job is beyond me. But yeah, you better believe if this also is not super well received, then there's going to be a bowl of there's going to be a bowl of poison berries like for what's his name at the end of the Hunger Games, and they're just going to be like, you can go now. We're done with you. Speaking of being done with something, I am done with not talking about this game, The Witcher 4. It looks so good, Jor.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just bouncing around.
I mean, yeah. Well, what can we say? It was like a well-done trailer, and yeah, it had some tidbits here and there. We can kind of expect what it's going to be. And it was great. Like, we knew the game was already coming, so it was not that much of a surprise. We know they have been like starting full production a few weeks ago, so it's gonna be far away. I think Ciri as a character is gonna be maybe more exciting than Geralt in like terms of gameplay. So I'm excited for it. It's like these open world type of games are my favorite genre. So having another one of those, Unreal Engine 5, it's gonna look insane. Injected into my veins. It's gonna launch around Elder Scrolls, and it's gonna be,
dude, you're not wrong. It's gonna be like, this is timing out to be right around Elder Scrolls 6, and as I've said 1,000 times, they've already confirmed that that's going to be running on the Starfield engine on the Creation Club 2. Not even like they're not even going to put a 3 next to it. It's Creation Club 2 or Creation whatever. Creation Engine 2. But like if like this, it's going to look like this. It's going to be crazy. And then they're going to be coming out with like the Starfield sort of dead-eyed, hi, I'm here, welcome. Like, it's gonna be so bad in comparison. It's gonna be so funny. Anyway, but with this, somebody in chat just asked, is this CGI or is this actually in the game? So what they did is on the text at the bottom of it, let me enhance, full screen, enhancing, there we go. You can see cinematic trailer pre-rendered in Unreal Engine 5 on an unannounced NVIDIA GeForce RTX GPU.
I also thought it didn't look that like insane, right? I thought like I can see this being like a game. Like we've seen how good Unreal Engine 5 can look. Like the Marvel game, for example, that is coming up. That looks even better, but that's probably because it's not a real game. It's still like a kind of a sidetrack. It's still wild that we have not seen gameplay for that, and they keep talking about it. I'm like, You're hiding something. This is gonna be like a Telltale type situation.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all of 5 hours long, maybe, and it's going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's going to be in Order 1886 Part 2.
Yeah.
As for like what this is, to me, there are some telltale signs that this is actually running. This is not like one of those trailers where they just straight up go and like it's a separate thing entirely, pre-rendered 15 minutes per frame. Like I think that this is running on whatever the 5090 is, and that's what they're going to do. I think one of the ways they're going to do it is they're going to reveal like, oh, that you remember that trailer we showed? Press play. This is it running on the 5090, and Nvidia's just going to be out there big dick energy slapping people in the face with it. But like you can see some little tidbits like on the hilt of the sword where you can see some glittering artifacting. I forget what they call it. It's like pixel jump with some fine detail lighting that happens in Unreal Engine specifically. And then there's some other tidbits here where you can look at cloth or small gradations of light in characters off in the distance in the background. So there's little tidbits of things that happen when you're talking about a game running in real time, or a game running actually in Unreal Engine, but that you wouldn't have as artifacts if you were talking about a fully pre-rendered like cinematic trailer that you might see 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, the Fall Life trailer comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
That cinematic trailer. That kind of comes to mind, and that looked completely like different than this.
Yeah.
That looked better than this, and yeah, that probably has a reason because this is actually in game. Like this character we're seeing here, like one of the NPCs. Like I can see that be someone we talk to.
And
for sure.
Little detail, I haven't seen anybody talk about this. Look at this, frame by frame. As he's talking, he's like really spitting out his words. There's actual spit flying from his mouth as he's like yelling at everybody. Like spit detail confirmed in The Witcher 4. So I would not be surprised if we get like an Nvidia trailer or something as part of a showcase in maybe, a year, and or maybe late next year when they announce the 5090 or something, and they're going to show this running in real time on a supercomputer that costs $15,000. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get that. It's going to be outrageous, but buckle up, buckaroo, because if this is what the future of gaming looks like, I'm not ready. Luke getting hyped, confirmed, dude. I've tried to be clear with people. There are some games and some franchises where my bias comes out, where I am a fan, and it will be hard for me to look at it super critically. But I'm going to tell you.
See the video. A not so skeptical look.
Yeah, a not skeptical, not at all skeptical, a fanboy look.
Yeah, a fanboy look.
Yeah. Because I swear to God, imagine this happens, this cutscene plays out, and then it does that camera transition straight into gameplay. Watch out under my desk, dude. It's gonna be wild. I'm so here for it. I'm so ready for it. And the reception to this again has just been very, very positive. There's been some people that are frustrated that they don't get the choice to make their own character. That's something that was rumored. It's also rumored for the other projects they're working on, so that's probably where the rumors started. But if you played The Witcher 3, this was signaled so many times that they were going to go this direction. It's not that big of a shock. The game directors have said that this was decided like a decade ago, so they're pretty confident about it. Other people have said that Ciri's ugly in this trailer, and if you think that,
go outside.
You might like men. I don't know what to tell you. Like, cool, but like, I don't know what's wrong with you. But yeah,
we had Pilaf saying, "Why did they abandon the Red engine?" I think they talked about it at one point because, of course, for the next Cyberpunk, they're also moving to Unreal Engine 5. One of the reasons is, of course, like right now having the support from an Epic in your game, like you can just focus on the game. They are working on the tools, making upgrading your engine next to working on a game has proven to be quite difficult these days because games are more difficult as well. I think they were also talking about that it's way more scalable, and that they were maybe, I mean, this is going to be a single player only game, but in the case of Cyberpunk, they wanted to do multiplayer elements as well. They actually had like a Cyberpunk GTA Online style game planned, but they did not do that in the end, simply because the Red Engine just was not really capable of supporting that. So yeah, the Unreal Engine just gives you way more possibilities like that. And if that can mean that they can push this game out faster, like for The Witcher, they've said, I think it's super ambitious, probably not gonna happen, but they want, after this Witcher 4 game releases, that the other two games launch in like a 6-year span, so that every 3 years we get another one, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I mean the other big benefit of this, which again we meme on Fair Game $sign a lot, but one of the reasons they bought that studio, Sony, is because they have a bunch of Google engineers that work there I think they're based in Montreal. And with that, like, part of the reason they bought them out is because they apparently have some tech that Sony found so impressive for cloud development that almost single-handedly justified the purchase of the studio. Whether Fair Game $sign ends up being amazing or not is almost like a secondary thing, because the tech is so good. And one of the reasons the Unreal Engine has appealed to CDPR, and they've talked about this in investor calls specifically and in some interviews, is that if you think of it like a traditional game company where you might have a studio in Europe, that's fine. If you got 200 people working on The Witcher 3 there, or 300 people working on The Witcher 3 there, that's fine. Just whatever engine you're using, that's okay. But if you want to open another studio over here, and then another studio maybe in Japan, and then maybe another studio in China, all of a sudden, this isn't that simple. You have to have some way of all of these tools, all of the systems interconnecting. Somebody in Boston needs to be able to work on the game, and it updates for these guys over in Europe, and then it also updates for the guys in Japan. That's what you want. And this is also part of the modern idea of gaming, is of software in general, as the days pass, when this studio this workday ends, the next studio should be starting, and then the next studio starts, and then the next studio starts. So technically 24/7 people should be working on the game around the world. There should never be like a period of 12 hours where just no work is being done, no progress is being done. Part of the perks of having international studios is that you can always have work being done systematically. But Unreal Engine has great cloud tools as well for allowing co-development across the world. And the other reason that's crucial is because of all these games they're working on at the same time. They don't want to run into like the classic Ubisoft situation where they have like a really good, amazing cinematic camera for cutscenes and side quests for AC Odyssey, but then it's not there in AC Valhalla because they started working separately, and that tool was developed by this team at a separate time, and so it wasn't echoed over here. Even though this game came out 2 years after that, it's just technologically inferior in this one aspect compared to this one because the tools weren't shared. They want to avoid that, and they can by using certain tools that have been built that way. So if you make an upgrade over here in Europe, that upgrade will also get passed all the way over to the US team. The Japanese team also gets that perk. Everybody can benefit from it. And that is just, there's many benefits of going to Unreal. There's also downsides, but it definitely was a carefully considered thing, and they seem very confident in the choice. So
yeah,
we'll see.
For sure. And of course, like hiring new people in the US that have never worked on the Red Engine because nobody has who's there. Like that helps, of course, as well to bring them in if you're making an Unreal Engine game because they got that experience already. Mm-hmm. So yeah. We will see how the game shakes out, but I'm sure it will be... I mean, we've seen some Unreal Engine 5 games now, and it's at least exciting that at first it seemed like that 30 FPS was kind of the max on consoles with the engine, but nowadays we have seen some games push to 60 on PS5 and Series X at least. So I think like Immortals of Avium was like the first Unreal Engine 5 game, right? And
yeah, it was like one of the first big ones in it.
Yeah,
it was pretty. It was heavy. It was tough to run, but
yeah,
that's there's many reasons for that. The only other thing I wanted to mention about the engine shift before we move topics is I forget who it was that talked about it, but there was a software engineer, I think at GDC, that was talking about the benefits of it. And the Red Engine was optimized by the end of its life, specifically for Cyberpunk. And one of the things about Cyberpunk is a lot of neon lights, a lot of ray tracing with reflections, with glass, with cars, with shiny metal, that type of thing. And in the world of The Witcher, you don't really need any of that because you're outside. Like trees, shocker, not that shiny. Grass, mud, not that shiny. You don't need all those optimizations for ray tracing. It's a fundamentally different thing. It's like when people ask, why does Red Dead 2 look so good even though it was running on the PS4 without ray tracing or whatever? It's because like diffuse materials can be handled much more efficiently with traditional rendering methods versus like these futuristic sci-fi things, which are much tougher to brute force through. So who the hell is Ray anyways? Good question. Okay, you pick what we're on next, Jor. Where do we go?
Yeah, I thought this was interesting, the Xbox stuff. So, of course, one of the things to kind of make a sort of segue was the Outer Worlds 2 was properly revealed. And yeah, instead of it only coming to Xbox and PC, like that was the case at first, they're now announced, hey, it's coming day one to PS5 as well. And after that, yeah, we kind of had more rumors from Jess Gordon from Windows Central, who totally has source, of course, still take it with a grain of salt. But again, we've been seeing this. It's like, I think the Microsoft CEO was also like, we want to change what an Xbox fan is. Basically, an Xbox fan is someone who can play Xbox on all their devices. Like, it's been in the air for a long time, but right now the big rumor is that basically there are no Xbox exclusives anymore. That all the games will eventually come over. And yeah, people are like, okay, what about Fable then, for example? And yeah, then the argument is Fable, like that they've been working on that by the time it releases, probably for 6 years. Like that game cost a few $100 million. We've kind of seen that just on Xbox these games don't sell very well, and even something like Indiana Jones, which had a very low Steam concurrent. Obviously, we don't know how it's done on Xbox. It is very high in the most popular Xbox games, so people on Game Pass are checking it out. But if they're doing the math on PlayStation, they can probably sell at least 1 million, maybe 2 million copies. That is money that you leave on the table. I think the Sea of Thieves thing this year opened their eyes. They were, of course, testing it with 4 games. I think Sea of Thieves was kind of like 1 million sold. It was the best-selling game on PS5 in May. That's crazy for a game in 2018. That came out in 2018. And that is like $30 million or maybe more that they otherwise would have never gotten. And yeah, that it's just kind of what they're doing. And something that came out today, which I think is very interesting too, because Microsoft is just kind of looking at it where, of course, the only reason why you would not put your game on PlayStation is because it lowers the value of the Xbox console. You're like, okay, but why would I get an Xbox if I can just wait? Or in many cases now these games come day one to the other platform, and like it doesn't seem to matter. In November, like November 2024, when Call of Duty was on Game Pass, obviously it launched in October, but like at the end of October, it was Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was the best-selling game of November, and the Xbox sales year on year were 29% down versus the year before, which is kind of crazy. While the Switch sold more than the Xbox Series. And the PlayStation 5 actually sold more than the previous year. Of course, the PS5 Pro helped with that. But they, even with Indiana Jones coming, even with an amazing 2025, it's not helping anymore. They're selling less and less Xboxes, even when they are finally delivering on some good games and getting Call of Duty on Game Pass. So it really seems like the logical step, which was kind of like always up in the air, but it seems like they're going there faster than we all thought, is just putting everything on everything.
Yeah, Part of this with the console sales specifically is like, it's sort of like the chicken and the egg. Are people not buying Xboxes because they know that Xbox is moving, Xbox as a company is moving away from hardware focused stuff as opposed to like distribution? Or are people not buying Xbox regardless of that? Like, even if Xbox was like, oh no, we're doubling down on that, that's our total focus. Yeah, no, we're going to do exclusives exclusively. I think it's a little bit of both, but more than anything, I think, you know, when you signal to everybody, yeah, every game is going to go everywhere, you don't need an Xbox to play our games, you shouldn't be surprised when people don't buy Xboxes. Like, it's not surprising to me at all. But I will say, like, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, specifically playing Indiana Jones, I've started to really understand accidentally the Xbox approach. And that is because, like, I have the Series X upstairs in the living room, and I'll play Indiana Jones there. And then I'm like, okay, let's go up. I'm going to lay in bed for a little bit before going to bed. I'll pull out my tablet, and I connect, I turn on my little Xbox controller that's paired to it. And then I go to xCloud, and I stream the game to the tablet, and I keep playing exactly where I left off downstairs, but now on that platform. And then I put that away, I go to sleep. Next day I wake up, I'm like, I need to record some footage. And so I come down to my PC and I boot up the game and I keep playing where I left off and I record some footage of it running on my PC and I capture the footage that way. That is ultimately the imagined purpose and goal of the Xbox ecosystem, is that you're not limited to like, oh, if I want to play that game, I got to go downstairs to the living room, or I got to go down to the studio where I have it set up, where I have my PlayStation set up. And everybody's doing this. Like, PlayStation's even doing it with the Portal, where they want you to be able to stream from your console or from the cloud your games. And I think that is just where Xbox is headed, and I think that is a compelling offering, because it is super nice to be able to play a game on the couch and then play it on your PC at higher fidelity, and then play it in bed, stream through the cloud to your tablet or your TV directly or whatever. That is a really cool offering, and that to me makes me actually, now when I'm asking for like a code from a company, or if I'm about to buy a game, I take a moment and consider, should I just buy this through the Xbox store now? Because then I can play it on the cloud, on the console, or on the PC. And that is the offering that adds value. They finally realized like their hardware offering wasn't enough to convince people to buy. So they're like, what if we make the software offering more compelling? And that's what they're doing. And I think, they've struggled to communicate that. This whole everything is an Xbox marketing campaign, I don't think is actually communicating that clearly enough. But I think as people try it, if you get people to the point where they give it a shot and they try the xCloud, picking up where they left off from their Game Pass game, that is going to start to compel people and win them over. They probably aren't buying Xboxes, but Xbox, amazingly enough, doesn't really care if you don't buy an Xbox, so long as you are in the ecosystem, whether that's on PC or on a tablet or on your TV streaming the game. Either way, they're winning. So I understand what they mean and what their goal is, and I do think it's a compelling offering. I just think they've done a poor job of communicating it to people so far, because once you try it, it makes sense. But until then, you're just like, so you're devaluing your hardware and you're selling less units, and like, how does this make any sense? But when you see it in action, I think it clicks.
Yeah, and I think you're making a great point, and I actually had this experience as well, because I got an ROG Ally for my plane, for my flight, and just for the holiday, and having that like as an offline machine as well, like I was suddenly booting up, like all my Xbox games were there that obviously were working on PC as well. And yeah, if you like just booted them up and got the save downloaded before you would jump into the plane, you could play them offline as well. So it felt like an Xbox handheld already, which was kind of cool. I still think though that it is interesting in a way where you are kind of losing that sort of core fan base, or those people that are just super happy to be on the Xbox platform, and also like they just kind of don't know what Xbox is, like you kind of say as well. And I also feel that they, like, one of the big reasons, or like one of the sort of dangerous things is that they're kind of playing everywhere, but they don't have like a sort of like they don't have their own spot anymore. Because if I'm on PC, I also have Steam. And on the ROG Ally, I'm like, should I buy this on the Xbox store or on Steam? And then I would still go to Steam. And like they are losing that 30% a pop on the marketplace. Maybe we as consumers should not care about it, but I'm like looking at it from their perspective as well. Like if you have an Xbox, you are on their platform. If Hellblade 2 comes out, they have a huge like bam on your screen, Hellblade, like you're directly communicating to your consumer base. And if you're kind of everywhere, you're just an option on every platform, you are not the platform for many people. So I am kind of curious how they're going to move in that direction. But it is clear though that the old strategy of having exclusives that sell your box is not working for them. And as a mostly PlayStation player myself, I hope that they bring over Fable to PS5, because I would prefer to play it there, especially because I have a Pro, and that would be the best console experience I can get. So yeah, I'm all for it, but I do think as a brand, they're kind of in an interesting position because of it.
Yeah, I think their approach has been to be the most accessible focused platform, where it's the cheapest to get into in terms of consoles with the Series S. It is the value proposition with Game Pass is also very, very good, with the sheer lineup and the scale of the lineup and everything. And with xCloud and other things included in that membership, it also becomes very, very impressive in terms of offering. But I think communicating that to people is going to be difficult. I think they got to stress cross progression. And the idea really has to be that you can play on the Xbox hardware if you have it, and then you can pick up where you left off on the cloud. You can pick up where you left off on your PC. Like Xbox is the platform, it's the marketplace, it's not the hardware anymore. And that's going to take a long time to sort of readjust people to it, because it's been this way for 20 years, the PlayStation versus Xbox console war. And this is a new approach. And so it's going to take a long time to get there, but I think eventually they will. And again, the more people try, I think the full offering, the more it'll make sense to them. But it's just gonna take some time. Real quick, if we catch up on some support though as we move forward. Real quick, Oh My Breed, thank you for subbing over on Twitch. Thank you. Let's see, Kakper, maybe. Thank you for the sub, also over on Twitch with Prime. Thank you, my friend. On YouTube's side of things, THC, shout out THC, thank you for the $1. MMORPGL, thank you for the 3. A certain heist game that sold 200 million copies.
GTA.
GTA.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah, but it's not like
it's not Payday. Yeah.
No, it's not Payday.
Sumaya, thank you for that one. I feel like there's almost no reason to own an Xbox console anymore unless you extensively use Game Pass. Can you, in good faith, recommend someone buy an Xbox? They miss PlayStation exclusives and larger player base. I think it's not as simple as just recommend, not recommend. It depends on your specific situation. I think if you are looking just for value and it will be like the only console in the house, the only gaming device in the house, then Game Pass as an offering is a tremendous value and could be maybe the best bet, versus PlayStation, where you buy like one AAA game for full price and that's all you've got. I know they have PlayStation Plus and they have games library there for sure with PlayStation Classics.
Forspoken is now on PlayStation Plus.
Oh, holla. So it's more complicated than just that, but I do think Xbox, as they continue to build out the library, it's becoming easier to recommend people check it out. Maybe not as like their primary gaming device if they have others. Like if you have a PC, you probably don't need an Xbox.
Yeah, I would say get the Xbox app on other devices, and then see what if you like the offering and if you like that, and then if you prefer to have a home console, maybe move in that direction. But I would personally go for a PS5 myself for the reasons that are mentioned here, especially because these games are coming over. That's kind of what we are hearing now.
And you need to be able to play Fair Game $, the second it launches.
I mean, yeah, you're missing out, you know. You want to fight the rich because they're taking everything from everyone, and I want the monkey mask. That's like, I hope I can like grind for that in the battle pass of season 1. That would be great.
Yeah, and I mean, I love nothing more, and I think we all should come together and spend a lot of money to buy copies of a game from a multi-billion-dollar corporation to then fight the digital rich people. I think that's what we all need to do together.
Yeah, that would be
without a doubt. And then we can all, after we complete the heist, we can all stop, come together, and maybe do like a slow motion celebratory thing when it looks like we're tripping balls and stuff. We can do that. That'll be really fun. And then maybe we all like snap an agreement at how good of a job we just did. Maybe we do that. Yes. Yeah, spend your dollar signs on fair game dollar sign. That should be their marketing tagline. That should be it. Spend your dollar sign on our dollar sign. Dude, I really wonder if like the devs get triggered when you call it fair game dollar sign, because like I've heard rumblings where like one joke made by a streamer or a YouTuber has like severely impacted the branding of an entire multi-million-dollar project because they just didn't think of it, or they didn't think it would have that big of an impact. And like it's like the people on the subreddit for Suicide Squad, when they announced that they were shutting that down, there were apparently multiple posts on the subreddit blaming me for causing the game to die, which is pretty funny. But it's like, no, I mean, the game's just bad. But with this fair game dollar sign, it kind of just immediately reveals how ridiculous the name is and everything. Real quick though, can somebody do me a favor? I'm just curious before we move into our when we start wrapping this up. Can somebody look up the fair game dollar sign trailer and tell me what the dislike count is on it if you have the extension? I'm just curious because I don't actually know. I don't have it on this browser.
What do you think before someone says it?
I'm not looking at chat. It's at 4K upvotes.
Likes. Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess 40K down.
Yeah, it says 51.
Oh,
but that's crazy. Like, even if it's 25, that would still be like a 1-10 or like 1-5 ratio.
Yeah, and a lot of people, no joke, have already forgotten this game came out. Last time I mentioned it in like our Suicide Squad wrapped up video, people are like, oh, I keep forgetting that game even exists. So when they re-reveal this with another trailer, it's going to be another wave of this. I mean, all these comments are priceless too. You want to know about us? No. You sure you want to go through with this after Concord, Sony? Eat the rich, said BlackRock, the multinational investment management corporation. Eat the rich, $800 console without disk drive by default.
Even the stupid QR code doesn't work. There's seemingly a QR code in the trailer.
No way, really? Hold on, I gotta try. Yes, there is. Okay, I'm gonna try it. Okay, everybody, try it where you are. Okay, dude, I am not joking. What do you think the URL is? What do you think the URL is? It's take their money.
No,
I am not joking. It is www.
Oh, it does work. It does
take
work.
their money. That is gotta be like the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then it's an access code.
Wow. Who has the code?
Wow.
No access code. Register here. Oh, you already need a PSN account.
Dude. I cannot
we
wait
will
for
see.
this.
It's gonna be great, but maybe it's not. And yeah, it says see you soon.
This was released in 2023, wasn't it?
Yeah, May 2022.
Dude, it's over a year and a half old. Oh, wow. And they just... Dude, poor Herman. We should send him a fruit basket or something.
I mean, he's not... He's fine. I mean, he thinks everything is fine.
He loves everything. He's just a positive guy. Even objectively terrible things he thinks are great. He's just an optimist.
We will have to wait and see. I just I love these developers because they're like veterans. Like there's one like guy who makes like the most beautiful Assassin's Creed concept art from starting with AC1 and stuff. Now working on this game, and I'm like, that's talent that I wanted to see used for something else. But
yeah. I mean, they'll all land on their feet. It's like all the guys that made Concord. They worked on that for years and years and years, and they all got paid pretty well. I just hope that they were saving their money, because it's like with some of these.
Did you see the Bungie guy that is like suing Sony? How much he was going to get?
Yeah, apparently he had been awarded stock options and equity in the company as part of compensation packages in the years leading up to the sale to Sony. So he stood to make tens upon tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, 83.
Yeah.
83 million.
83 million.
And they laid off like so many people, and they could have easily just, if you think about it, they had like, I think 1 billion or something from the acquisition or more was to keep these people in place.
Well, part of that is, I mean, it's tough, because if he owns whatever that would have been, like 2% or 1% or whatever it is of the company, and then, they're bought out for 3.7 billion, then he gets his payout, that Sony's footing the bill for. But like, part of the problem is that they fired him, and now he's suing them because since he was fired, he missed out on like an additional 45 million or something. So it's part of the problem with like having equity in those companies when they sell, because you can't just cut the executives to save money. Like, they'll just sue you and get the money anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole thing is crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the lesson of everything Bungie related is that Sony overpaid by so freaking much for that company. It's outrageous. But that's been the tale since Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst have been at the helm, is that their consideration of what value is so screwed up. Like, they're willing to pay, by some accounts, 400 million for Concord, 3.7 billion for Bungie and Destiny, and eventually Marathon. Even though it's apparently just been hemorrhaging money for them. It's just unbelievable. Like, it's absolutely crazy how much money they just threw into the garbage disposal. But
and all the wins they have are like things that they could have also had without the acquisitions, like a Helldivers 2. They don't even own Arrowhead.
Yeah, at the very least, like, Xbox spends $70 billion on Activision, and they're having like a really successful Black Ops 6 launch, and they're seeing, WoW do pretty well. Yeah, Diablo's not having a great time in the light of PoE, but I think that was always going to happen whether they owned it or not.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
At least they're getting something for their money, whereas they bought Bungie, PlayStation bought Bungie, and then it's just been losing money ever since. Like, they've gotten no hits. Like
the community sentiment is like super. It's apparently one of the new events they had just was completely broken. Like, core features are just not working, loot is not being distributed and stuff. That's like insane. And the whole promise of, like, we're not gonna do expansions anymore. Oh, that's exciting. Now I want to spend more time in Destiny. Crazy.
Anyway.
Crazy. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining, as always, to the Free Roam show. Next week is Christmas. You got plans? What is going on?
Not really. I mean, my family moved back from. They lived a state away. They lived in Wyoming last year, and they've since moved back, so we don't have to drive all the way up there. We just get to sleep in our own beds on Christmas morning and go over to my parents and hang out. Like, it's going to be a good time.
Nice.
It should be much more mellow than it typically is. But yeah, we've got Christmas next week, and then just a week later is 2025. How insane is that?
Is it already January 1st then?
Yeah.
On Wednesday? I see. Damn, that's crazy, man.
That is insane. So little rundown for you guys, just so everybody's aware. I am going to the Bahamas for like 2 weeks. Okay, it's like a whole thing through New Year's into early January. I have tried to find out from the place we're staying at what the internet speed is, because I anticipate wanting to stream, once or a few times, because I just like streaming. And they will, like, it's like talking to your grandparents about internet speeds. Like, they have no idea. They're like, it's pretty fast. You can like do your emails. And I was like, I need more than that. So I've been trying to find out what internet deal we're faced with, and I just don't know yet. But Either way, if it works for Jor, either early next week or late next week, before or after Christmas, I'm down to do another show. As for doing the show in January, I don't know if my internet will be good enough, but I am hoping it will be. But either way, we'll have content set up for you guys, and it'll be good either way. Because next year, regardless, it's going to be insane. And I think maybe we wrap with that. What are your top 3 most anticipated games for next year, Jor? Besides Fair Game $? Because that's a given. I mean,
yeah, no,
for both of us.
Okay, not even Fair Game. Damn. Do you know it already? Give me a few more. Give me some time to.
Sure, I'll pull something out of my ass. I mean, so the given I think we can both just like hand wave away because it'll just take a spot otherwise is GTA 6. Like GTA 6 is going to be massive. Everybody's going to play it regardless. So we'll just say, given that, other than that, what are we looking forward to? For me, I'm really excited for Mafia because I love me some Mafia. I'm really excited for Kingdom Come. I'm really excited for Monster Hunter because I'm sure that's going to be great. But then again, like if you're narrowing this down to 3, Crimson Desert also looks great. We're getting Judas also seems really, really interesting. Ghost of Yotei. Like there's a lot that's coming. Death Stranding allegedly launches next year.
You have to pick 3, man.
But we can only pick 3. So if I had to pick 3 and I'm on a deserted island ignoring GTA 6, I think I would say Kingdom Come, Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter, because that's like 1,000 hours right there. And oh man, this one's tricky. The last one, there's so much pressure. I think my last one I would give. I'm gonna trust my gut. Do I? No. Yes, I should. I'm gonna say Mafia. I think Mafia. Yeah, I think so. I think others.
A game you can finish in a weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of other really good candidates. To be fair, there's a lot of good ones. Yeah, AC Shadows is coming. We got plenty of stuff, but I think those
so
are
AC Shadows for me, Ghost of Yotei, and Horizon Online.
Oh baby,
if that's gonna happen, I don't know. Man.
What I can promise everybody is that both Jor and I will no doubt be talking a lot about the Horizon multiplayer game when it comes out. I don't know, positive or negative, but we're both going to be talking about it a lot. I feel. So
I hope that's the surprise hit.
I also too. I want more good games. I just don't want more live service garbage. I want it to be live service treasure. I want it to be good, not garbage. So I hope that the 8 years will prove worth it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, Doom as well. Sure. Yeah, Doom's coming too.
Yeah, Doom
Jesus,
is coming too. Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy next year. I'm not ready for that.
Infinity Nikki 2. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh man, no Infinity Nikki video with the handsome woman look. I should ask Nikki if she wants to try Infinity Nikki. I should try that. I'll go up and ask her after the stream. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Thanks so much for being with us. You all are amazing. We'll be back soon with another episode. Much love. Stay safe. See you next time.
Goodbye.